Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 30th of January, 2022. Coming up, the Crusty Canuck podcast, episode 162, A Small Fringe, the Freedom Convoy of 2022, and other effects, plus more political garbage coming from our leaders and so-called know-it-alls. Please stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
Yeah, well, that's right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Well, Small Fringe, eh? The Ottawa Convoy for Freedom is getting momentum as we speak. Interesting how things are turning. I'm your host, Crusty, and good to see you all. Thank you all for coming here. Pardon my absence the past 10, 12 days. I've been working lots of hours where I work. But needless to say, I'm here to make sure that the podcast is up for your listening and viewing pleasure. Oh, well, interesting news the past couple of days. How things are going in this democracy and how things are going for you and me, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'll just summarize what's been going on in case you haven't paid attention to the mainstream media. A lot of truckers Canada-wide have merged on Ottawa, more or less telling our leadership and our government to lay off the mandates and stop restricting people. And I, for one, I do support it. I do support liberty. I do support democracy. But the past day on mainstream media, it's been really interesting how they're not really focusing on what these truckers are doing and supporters are doing. They're focusing on what a handful of poop heads are doing, i.e. people that have actually been caught dancing on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Ottawa, and a few questionable flags, which I'll talk about later in the show. But interesting to say the least. My wife and I, we've watched the mainstream media the past 24 hours, basically glued to the set to see what's happening here with everybody in this country and the division that's actually being caused because of it. Right. And I've heard and seen numerous TikTok videos. Now, I'm not on TikTok myself, probably because I don't want to give the Communist Party of China my time and effort with TikTok. You as a viewer and a listener, you do what you like. That's up to you, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't use TikTok for that simple reason. And I've heard a lot of disconcerting and a lot of opinions in regards to people fighting for freedom in this country. Now, there are many ways you can fight for freedom. Where you stand up against a bully, stand up against an administration that just doesn't look after your interests, or heaven forbid, as a last resort, pick up an arm, i.e. a gun, and stand proudly and firmly. Now, I don't believe that we need to pick up guns and start doing these heinous things like in some other countries and when some other dictators have come and gone. That's the last thing I want to see, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to see that kind of violence on the horizon. I don't want to see our beloved capital turn into Minneapolis that happened last year or 2 years ago. I don't want to see our beloved capital turn into a third world war zone because a few people don't want to get along. Now, what gets me the most about this whole ordeal is that Justin Trudeau said last Wednesday that it's basically a fringe minority of people that have unacceptable views. What is deemed as acceptable views? I ask you that, Mr. Prime Minister Butthead, and I will call you Butthead because the more and more you're supposed to lead this country, the more and more you shy away and hide in the shadows. Okay. How convenient of you, Mr. Prime Minister, to actually be exposed to the beer bug when these truckers were coming to knock on your front door. Now, I'm a firm believer in safety, of course. You go to a job site, you wear a hard hat, you work with machinery, you wear glasses. Okay. But to constantly play on words and to play with people and say this is safety here, safety there, for for the sake of covering your own buttocks and your cabinet's buttocks, I don't find that you're trying to be safe with us. I really don't think that you are. Honestly, I don't think you really have the best intentions of the people under your watchful eye. Like I said, how convenient of you to be hidden away for 5 days because your son is sick or your son was exposed or somebody in your little circle is exposed to the beer bug when these truckers were coming to talk to you. Theo Fleury had a very good quote. Leaders don't hide, leaders, face. They don't divide, they don't hide, they face their people. And regardless of how you personally feel about any leader in this country, okay, you should be able to stand your ground and stand firmly, right? Because you're in the public eye, right? Now, these truckers plan to stay, I don't know how long, maybe 2 weeks to flatten their curve, but they're going to stay around for a while, and you're eventually going to have to show your face, Prime Minister, and your cabinet and other members too. Now, I don't believe in harassing every politician and doxing them and knocking on the door and leaving garbage or hurting people. And I especially don't believe in what the individuals did in Ottawa recently in regards to dancing on the tomb of the unknown soldier. I'll tell you a little story there, ladies and gentlemen. In May of 2000, I was with a contingent of the 1st Battalion Royal Canadian Regiment just a few years after I signed up. So I was a brand new private in the Army and all this good stuff. And I joined the contingent that went to France to pick up the unknown soldier. There was a parade there with members of the French military, Canadian dignitaries, Governor General Adrian Clarkson at the time, with their artistic speeches about peacekeeping and all that stuff. Anyway, to make a long story short, we went to Vimy Ridge. We saw some Canadian history, looked around, and understood the devastation that the First World War caused that area. And it was interesting to see the craters and the crevices that were still there after all those years. We brought home the unknown soldier. We had the parade and everything. We marched in Ottawa and laid the gentleman to rest. And ever since then, it's been part of Canadian history. And I, for one, as a veteran, of someone who was there who brought home the unknown soldier with other members of 1RCR and other units. That's kind of an insult. So to those protesters out there that might be watching this or hearing this podcast right now, pay attention what I'm going to say here, okay? Smarten the fuck up. You can still fight for freedom and get your voice heard without being a douche, okay? Dancing on any grave, as far as I'm concerned, is a big effing no-no, okay? Unless you're dealing with some guy like a Hitler or a Mussolini or a Stalin, then that's a different story, okay? The unknown soldier is supposed to monumentalize the sacrifices that people have made in the name of war, in the name of fighting for democracy and freedom as we see it. Now, if you're protesting freedom with the convoy, and yet you're dancing on the grave of someone who went through a hell of a lot more hell than we have, it's kind of a contradiction, don't you think? Oddly enough, that would be, definitely a contradiction. So I'm going to say this once again. I am for people protesting and standing up for the rights, for fighting for freedom. And that stands for all Canadians, all colors and creeds, our First Nations, Asian Canadians, white Canadians, black Canadians, brown Canadians, pink, purple, all Canadians, all people that live here in this glorious country. Set a better example.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Furthermore, I didn't mean to get passionately winded there and a little annoyed, but it is annoying that when you see individuals standing up for what's right for you, for me, for everybody else, to your neighbor, to your brother, to your grandmother, to your sister, to your distant lover, okay? And then they're sitting there drinking a beer and they're dancing on the grave of a fallen member of this glorious country, and they're taking a piss beside it too. It puts in perspective who really cares and who doesn't. Now, I know the intentions were there because, every road to good intentions is paved to hell. Am I saying that right? But needless to say, we've got to smarten up and set a better example, ladies and gentlemen. Now, it's tough for me to pick up in my truck and go anywhere because of my commitment to my job and my commitment to my marriage, right? So no way am I copping out. And with the opinions that I've heard with my wife the past 24 hours from TikTok and from all these other social media platforms, we're not seeing a lot of opinions. Doesn't matter if you're left or right, or if you're down the middle. Doesn't matter if you're libertarian. Doesn't matter if you're conservative. Doesn't matter if you're liberal or if you're an NDPer. Okay, we've got to find the common ground again. Okay. Now I've heard people say, "Oh, your rights aren't being compromised." Well, slowly they are being compromised. Freedom of movement, freedom of expression. How many people have lost their jobs because they're expressing themselves over this? How many people have been locked out of their own businesses because they're expressing themselves over this? So that is an infringement on someone's rights. Now, you may own a restaurant, or you may work here, or you may work there, where you have nothing to do with the pandemic whatsoever, and everything's just fine from your perspective. That's great. I've lost employment because of an opinion. Okay. Regardless if it's a private business or not, I've still lost employment because of an opinion. Now, every private business owner has his or her right to allow whoever they want into their store, their shop, or their service. That's fine. Is it good business sense in the long run? Something to think about. Okay. I remember the individual in, I believe it was Colorado a few years back, that refused to bake a cake for a gay couple. Okay. Okay. Well, shame on the guy for being a bigot. But then again, who are two strangers to tell him how to run his business? So be it. And what gets me is that the whole case went to the Supreme Court of the United States, and they basically threw it out and went in favor of the business owner. Now, that business owner might have come into some financial dyers because of his opinions, but it's to say he's allowed to run his business accordingly, just like you're allowed to go about your business accordingly too. It doesn't matter what cloth you're cut from. It doesn't matter what culture you have or what your skin color is. Now, what gets me too is how the mainstream media has always looked at a different angle all the time. Instead of actually looking at the story for what it is, here's a bunch of truckers coming out of Ottawa to say to the Prime Minister, we've had enough of your garbage. We've had enough of these mandates. Come on, talk. Where's the Prime Minister? Where is he? He's not around. He's hiding away in his cottage or some bunker or under some security detail because one of his sons apparently was exposed, quote unquote. So he's hiding away. We know it's a joke. We know it's a con. We don't buy it. But I will say hats off to some of those parliamentarians that are out there with the public talking to people. Okay. But I'm not going to say hats off to the individuals that are grabbing the spotlight and grabbing the attention of that too. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm all for freedom. I'm all for expressing yourself. But we're at a point now where there's so much division in this country. It doesn't matter where you stand with the vaccinations, whether you're with it or whether you're not with it. There's a lot of dirt coming to surface, okay? Now, even this morning on CTV, when I was watching Question Period and watching some of the other headlines, they have spent too much bloody time focusing on one or two situations rather than actually focusing on the story at hand, okay? Now, I've heard stories from TikTok and other social media platforms who are saying, oh, this convoy is nothing but racist. This convoy is nothing but bigotry. Oh, you're fighting for these rights, but you're not fighting for Native rights, or you're not fighting for gay rights. As far as I know, and to the people I've spoken to personally who are there, they're fighting for all Canadians. But the thing is, don't let all of this perspective turn to a joke because a few bad apples want to spoil the batch. Okay? Really. And really, it doesn't matter what conglomerate you go to or what protest you go to. There's always going to be some kind of shithead trying to stir the pot and cause more trouble. Okay? So the individuals out there that want to just dismiss this as some racial thing, racist, it's not. Okay? If you actually look at all the footage from Rebel and True North and other independent individuals, Druthers, Western Standard, you're going to see a variety of people there, a quite diverse mixed crowd of individuals there standing up for one thing: freedom to be, freedom to choose. Enough of these mandates. 2 years of this has been enough for people. Enough. Which is going to bring me to this. I got a story here from Andrew Lawton from the True North. You decide for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, but I think he just made a point. Take a look if you'd like, and we can go from there. Right. Oh, just queuing it up here. Here we go. All righty, boys and girls. So hold on.
Hey, this is Andrew Lawton with True North. I'm live from Wellington Street in front of Parliament Hill in downtown Ottawa for the Truckers for Freedom convoy. Now, as you can hear, this is not an isolated incident. That horn has been going off for probably much of the last 12 hours. People are here from all over the country, and I've had the chance to talk to a few people here about what it is that's bringing them to Ottawa for this convoy. And it's not the portrait of the convoy supporters that has been made by Justin Trudeau and the mainstream media. Ordinary people. Just take a look at a few of them. What's your name and where are you from?
James from Edmonton.
Where are you guys from?
Like First Nation. So my name's Anthony Zambito from Orangeville, Ontario.
RJ Perrier. I'm from originally from North Bay, but my background is my dad used to live in Wickhamacon, and my mom is from Sagamore.
Why did you come all the way from Edmonton to Ottawa for this?
To support freedom. To be heard. To support. To hear the people sing.
What brings you out here today?
To support our truckers for our freedoms, our rights.
Our right to choice. What brings you to Ottawa?
Well, I'm here. I'm an independent journalist. I wanted to, take a photo of the convoys that was making its way in. I also wanted to see the crowd gather here. So far, it's been an amazing turnout. The energy has been great. The best rally I've seen.
Just to support everybody. Like, I'm an ex-truck driver, and I used to do that all the time. So, it was hard enough to do so.
What do you hope to accomplish? What do you hope this whole convoy does?
End the mandates. Give us our freedom back, abide by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that we have. Constitution in Canada.
Do you think Justin Trudeau is going to listen?
He's probably hiding in his cottage somewhere.
What is it about this message of freedom that resonates with your community?
I won't speak for my community, but my personal opinion, this is affecting all of us. So it's a widespread thing. It's not just one community.
What is it that you hope this accomplishes?
I'm hoping that Trudeau gets the message. We can get him out of the cottage. I'm hoping it leads to an end of mandates, and I'm hoping that eventually it leads to his resignations and many more to follow.
What is it about this message of freedom that's resonating with you?
Because if it's lost, the next generation won't be around. That's all it is. And it's kind of hard. And the being choices also.
There are folks here from all walks of life, all over the country. The message is a very simple one. They're here for freedom. And what's happening here is the convoy hasn't even officially started yet. People are already here, hundreds, if not thousands, trucks from all over. The main part of the convoy is going to be rolling into Ottawa very shortly. And this party is going to keep rocking for days to come. But the message is very simple. You heard it from those folks we just spoke to. They want the mandates gone. Andrew Lawton for True North reporting live from Ottawa.
Yeah, that was Andrew Lawton from True North. Thank you, True North, for your wonderful video there. And it's self-explanatory. And you did notice there were a couple of First Nations persons there too. So it's not a racial thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. And I'd like to reiterate too, to my listeners and to my new listeners and viewers out there. I was not raised in a household where I judge people by the color of their skin. I was not. Because I've also personally worked with and worked for, hyphenate, work for First Nation members, First Nation peoples. Now, we were wearing the same uniform. And I didn't judge them on the color of their skin or the culture. I judged them on their ability to lead and to look after their men and women. And they did a fantastic fucking job. Okay? It's a matter of your character. It's not a matter of the color of your skin. And I'm well aware, too, of the water issues that are big and prominent in this country. And I'm well aware of some of the poverty issues that have affected the First Nations. But I'm also aware, too, of poverty issues that have affected other minorities and a lot of other Canadians as well, not just this group or that group, Canadians as a whole. So I'm going to say this once, and please let it resonate. Put the race card away. Honestly, because I'm want to get so sick and tired of the race baiting when it comes to freedom of all Canadians. We cannot keep promoting that divide.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And speaking of race baiting, ladies and gentlemen, here's a tweet that came from Jagmeet Singh. One of my followers on my Crusty Canuck page presented this to me. Interesting how, it's the narrative always changes, right? And this is Jagmeet Singh. I'm not going to read the French, but to my French viewers and listeners, by all means, can read along. Let's say this is from yesterday. Today, we commemorate 5 years since the terrorists attacked and murdered Muslims in a Quebec City mosque. We said never again. And today, Conservative MPs have endorsed a convoy led by those that claim the superiority of the white bloodline and equate Islam to a disease. I never heard that. How about you folks? Did you hear that? He's right. Yeah, 5-year anniversary of that heinous crime. And I will say heinous crime because anyone who is shot in this country for practicing their faith, to me, it's a heinous crime. Doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Christian, doesn't matter if you're Jewish, doesn't matter if you're Buddhist, doesn't matter if you belong to a Sikh temple or even a Scientologist. I am all for freedom of religion and to practice what you want to do and to believe in what you want to do. Okay? But I'd like to remind those individuals who sit there and say, oh, nothing happened to our rights in this country. The freedom to assemble is a fundamental right Canada-wide. That is being compromised. The freedom to speak your mind, freedom of expression, that has been compromised more times than enough via mainstream media and here online, because our federal government has still tried to promote legislation to thwart what people like myself, what yourself, what anyone else has to say on this beautiful thing we call the internet. So when someone says, oh, nothing's being compromised, nothing to see here, you're only hurting yourself. Now, just to reiterate, too, there is a tweet out there from Candace Malcolm from the True North, who also is disgusted with the whole fact there was a Nazi flag seen at this rally. And realistically, to me, that's a real shame that any individual out of his or her mind would bring something like that to the Canadian capital to promote that. Okay. Now, whether the context may be different, I don't know. Okay. But my grandfather, both of my grandfathers, fought against that onslaught in the 1940s, fought against that ideology, fought against that garbage. Now, I'm a firm believer in freedom of speech, ladies and gentlemen. No, but idiocy is idiocy. Okay. Now, she made a point of offering a reward. I'll just cue it up here. Let's see where it is there. Well, let's see where it's at. Here we go. Let's cue that up there. Well, and here we are there too. So Miss Malcolm out of True North has stated, update, I've received more photos. This one appears to be at the Chateau Laurier. Help us identify this individual so we can try to better understand who they are and why they flew this vile flag. The pot is up to $3,000 thanks to 2 matching donors. So basically what she is doing, and I would say extremely honorable of her, honorable of the people of True North, to put that up there, more or less stating that, okay, let's find the wanker or the wankette that brought this flag to the rally. Okay. Rightfully so. If I had $3,000 to give, I would do it too. Honestly. Right. And it just gets more difficult when you sit there and you say you believe in freedom of expression, and there's some clown or clowns or clownettes that want to express that. It's difficult, but they did it. And what else do you say? What else can you do? Right. But that is not what the march is about. That is not what the protest is about. So in the mainstream media, like CBC, CTV, and Global, you fuckers are just as guilty too, Global. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. You're promoting this. You're not looking at the point. Okay. And regardless of where this $8 million that was raised, where it's going to, Okay. I'm sure it's going to go to the proper persons that need it. Okay. Now, my concern is they made such a big stink about raising money for the convoy. I think the honorable thing the convoy to do would be given some of that money to the First Nations without being prompted or having to be reminded. I would also like to tell the federal government to wake up because people are talking. Yeah, but we're these leaders. Now we have a few parliamentarians within the crowd. It's Pierre Poilievre, Damien Canuck, Michael Cooper, and a few other predominant parliamentarians out there giving coffee, talking to people. Great. And that's the way it should be. Listening to people. Listening to what these people have to say. All people. Not those people or these people, but people. People in general. Okay? And we got to get rid of this racist narrative. Stop looking for ghosts. Stop looking for monsters under the bed. Because the more and more you tear away the bed, there's not going to be any more monsters except for yourself. Right? Just another shit show.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And what brings me to the shit show, or from the shit show, is another exciting segment of everyone's favorite. Wait for it. And this edition of
the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit.
Yes, without a lot of real hard thinking and without a lot of consideration, I think it's safe to assume that this episode's winner of the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit will go to none other than, wait for it, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Oh, of course. Yes. The Prime Minister and his infinite wisdom, right? Infinite wisdom, by hiding away from the masses, by hiding away at his cottage, just in the nick of time so he doesn't have to deal with the truckers as we speak, wins the coveted, the
Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit.
Well done, Mr. Prime Minister. I think that's the 5th time he's won it so far, but we'll have to wait and see anyhow. But it's pretty self-explanatory, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a hard time for everybody in the past couple of years. It has been. Worldwide, yes, worldwide pandemic. We got to do this, we got to do that. But it seems like every time we turn around, the goalposts keep moving. And I know I've said that a lot too, but it's like the rules keep changing. We saw with the first wave how many politicians sat there and told you and me, don't travel here, don't do this, don't do that, don't here, don't be there, don't be there, don't be here, don't be anywhere, right? And then we've also seen them travel to Hawaii, Ireland, Southern United States, other countries too. In some cases, the Bahamas and other vacationing hotspots, while telling you and me not to stay here or to stay put and not to go here and to wear masks outside as well as indoors. So people are getting frustrated, and that's not a new dilemma too. So I would leave it to the mainstream media to smarten up and quit looking for the narrative. And if anybody in the mainstream who's actually watching or listening to this podcast, maybe you should tell your editors and producers to get a goddamn grip of reality. Isn't that what you're supposed to do when you're promoting newscasts? When you're supposed to put a story together and a headline? Or just keep throwing a narrative of divide, right? Because you're not really going to see the repercussions of divide until something terrible happens. And that's my concern. My wife and I, we've talked about this. That's our concern too. It's good that people are out there speaking their minds and protesting. But with these little incidents of people defecating and dancing on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, or carrying around a notional Nazi flag, or carrying around any kind of hateful flag for that matter, what kind of narrative are you promoting? Now, I'd like to remind the powers that be that it's not some fringe minority with unacceptable views. There are a few people that are in the pot that are shitheads. I'll say that, yes. Okay, to those douchebags that have the Nazi flags, those douchebags that are promoting racial divide, well, here's my expression to you. Self-explanatory. Okay? Up yours. This country was built on all colors and creeds. My Canada includes the First Nations, always has, always will. Because there's people in my life that I know personally that have reached out to me and given me wisdom and given me insight who happen to be First Nations and who have done wonderful things for their communities and wonderful things for other people. There's individuals, those social justice warriors that sit there and say, oh, the marginalization. Oh, you have privilege. Oh, you have this. You can go fuck off too. Get a goddamn grip of reality. No more of this guilt. No more. Okay? Let people be. Doesn't matter where they're from. Doesn't matter how they identify. Let people be. Let people thrive. All people. It's that simple. How more inclusive do I have to explain this? How much more inclusionary dialogue do I have to say? I don't care if you identify as this. I don't care if you identify as that. I don't care if you're from this tribe. I don't care if you're from this country. I don't care if you play soccer or football. I don't care if you play basketball or netball. I don't care if you play with yourself. Just do it well and make sure you wash your hands. But do you see my point here, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. A simple thing of getting a convoy, telling our leaders enough is enough, has turned into a real poop show. And for what? For what? To further a narrative, to sell more papers, to sell more online time, to create more online time, right? To give TikTok another fucking profit margin. Because there's so many people out there that say this country is racist, yet they don't mind the benefits of said country. So keep the dialogue going. Keep everything going as it should, right? And don't let people like this stand in your way of real progress. And I'm talking progress where you as an individual, you as a man, you as a woman, you as anybody you decide to be, can thrive with peace and security and real freedom. Okay? Freedom to be, freedom to choose, freedom to think, freedom to touch, taste, dance, be merry, just like I said at Christmas time. Right? That's worth fighting for. Okay? As a member of the Veterans Coalition Party, yes, we are firm believers in clean drinking water for all. Proper legislation to help all Canadians. And I'm well aware, too, that no matter what you do in politics, there's always going to be somebody who's not happy. That's just the way it is. I can't change that. You can't change that. But it's a matter of accepting and being tolerant of everything that we see. Yes, there's days where I'm mad and I'm angry and I'm pissed and I want to smash something. I'm sure you've done that too, ladies and gentlemen. Right? But let's look at this freedom convoy and use it for what it is. Promoting freedom. Freedom that a lot of these leaders have taken away. Because that whole do as I say, not as I do mantra only works for little kids when you're trying to show them how to be responsible adults. It doesn't work for grown adults that want to go about their business and live their lives accordingly. It's that simple. Right? I don't know how to say it, ladies and gentlemen, without it would sound like a broken record, but I am for some of those individuals in that convoy. I back up freedom of choice, freedom to be. Let's get rid of the mandates and let's start using common sense again as we should. Okay. Now, I've had other points of view from veterans in my circle. Some agree to disagree, and that's fine. That's the joy of being a Canadian. You can agree to disagree. You know, that's classical liberalism. I disagree with your point of view, but I'll fight for your right to say it and believe it nonetheless. It's that simple. But we've taken a simple thing and turned it into a technical math problem on fucking steroids. Interesting enough. I don't know what else to say, folks. Anyway, this has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck Podcast, episode 162. Let's just hope for good things, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just keep in mind that, we can do better. Let's see through the garbage that's being promoted to us and find the light at the end of this manufactured darkness. But like I say, please click like, subscribe, share this all around your social media platforms. You can also find me on Brightian, Wimkin, and Rumble too. I have videos there, so please check me out on Rumble as well. I'm getting some more subscribers. I have a goal on Rumble to reach 500 subscribers, so please subscribe and share it today. Once I complete this video, I'll be loading on those platforms too. So you can, like I say, check me out at Rumble, Brightian, and Wimkin. All my support links And my follow links are in the description, so please check that out, ladies and gentlemen. But without further ado, like I said, this has been 30th of January, 2022, and let's hope for good things. And let's just try being realistic and keep using common sense. It's that simple, folks. But like I always say, do what you can to help your friends and neighbors out, and do the best you can just to keep your chin up and keep your head above the garbage. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.